Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k. This one's not as long as the last one, don't worry. It's not a 2-hour video, we're just doing a standard review. This time it's going to be for the Catan Shard of the Nightbringer. So as you guys know, 9th edition, this was one of my go-to guys. I love the Nightbringer. And let's see how he fares in 10th edition. So let's get onto the rear side of the data card. 255 points, it's a fair points, that's not too bad. It used to be 320 points, so it's gone down a fair bit. He's of course an epic hero, so no enhancements there. He's equipped with the Gaze of Death and the Scythe of the Nightbringer. He can't be a warlord. He's a monster. He's a character. He's, as mentioned, epic hero. He's got fly, which kind of sucks because he's a monster, so he's not going through ruins and terrain. But he's still going to be flying diagonally and you're measuring out. Yeah, you know the coup. It's, meh, whatever. Let's flip the card over. And we're going to talk about the statistics to begin and compare it to 9th edition because we're still doing that. We're still in the index, the launch index. So there is a comparison to be made. A few of you guys have said, why are you still comparing to 9th edition? It's a new edition. It's because some people are still kind of stuck in old habits of how 9th edition works. For example, how the Nightbringer works. So by comparing and contrasting the statistics and abilities, you can kind of see if he's worse or better in this edition than it was in 9th edition. Of course, once the codex does come out, we'll forget all about 9th edition and we'll go from there. Right, now that that's out of the way, let's move into these stats. So the movement is now only 7 inches, it was 8, so he is slower, but it's pretty much an index thing now. We've gone slow with virtually everything. Toughness has gone up to 11, he's a monster of course, so that is standard as well. Used to be toughness 7. So there's a decent bit of resiliency there. He's got 2 more toughness points than a Doomsday Ark. So put that into perspective. Right, so he's got a 4+ armor save with the 4+ invulnerable save. He's now got 12 wounds, not 9. So he's not going to be... Remember in 9th edition they used to do the psychic smite attacks. Then they used to shoot him, then they used to get into a fight and he was gone within a turn. I mean, he can still go within a turn, don't get me wrong. Leadership is a 6+ and objective control is 4. Not bad overall. Let's move into the weaponry side of the data card. We've got the ranged attack of Gaze of Death. Now this used to be his unique Catan power. We've no longer got any Catan powers, so that is a slight nerf to all the Catan shards really. But this ranged attack is actually pretty good. So it's got the blast keyword to begin, 18-inch range, D3 attacks. Of course you're adding blast there. So if you're going up against say 5 Space Marines, 5 Terminators, 10 Hell Blasters, whatever it is, you've got to include the blast. Hitting on 2s with ballistic skill 2+, strength is 12, minus 2 AP, and the damage is D6 plus 3. So there's a hefty amount of damage there. As a bare minimum, you're doing 4 damage with these shots, and you could potentially do 9 with just 1 shot going through, which is really good. Now the melee side of the data card is still decent. I just don't think it's as good as it was in 9th edition, but that's also going to be because of the way it used to stack with the abilities, which we're going to go over in a moment anyway. But let's go through them. So you've got the Scythe of the Nightbringer. It's got 2 profiles. You've got the Strike profile, which is the mega powerful one, and the Sweep profile, the one that goes against infantry. So let's start with the mega powerful one, the Strike one. It's devastating wounds to begin. Nice. You've got 6 attacks. You're hitting on 2s, strength 14, minus 4 AP, and the damage is D6. Bear in mind, devastating wounds, if you roll a 6 to wound, then your D6 is going to turn into mortal wounds for that one roll. But yeah, that's doing a ton of work, and strength 14 means even if you're going up against a Necron monolith, you're wounded on 4s, which is quite nice, really. Now you could actually bump that up even further. The Hungry Void stratagem is a way of getting strength 15, so you'd be wounded on 3s against toughness 14. Situational, of course. Let's talk about the profile, which is Sweep. You've now got 14 attacks with this, so we used to have only 12, so that's a boost in terms of the attacks. Hitting on 2s again, the strength has gone up to strength 8, it was strength 7. So that means against toughness for Space Marines, you're wounded them on 2s, which is nice. We've lost a bit of AP, it's now only minus 2 AP, but the damage is now 2. It used to be 1, it is now a flat 2. So again, Space Marines now are getting sliced open, whereas before, it used to take a couple of wounds to go through to kill a Space Marine because it used to only be damage 1. The strength being 8 and the damage being 2 is a massive bonus with 2 more attacks as well. Yes, we lost a bit of AP, but that's not a big deal at all. In general, the AP has been reset anyway. So overall, I'm fairly happy with that. Now the downside to this is, like I kind of just mentioned a minute ago, the abilities in 9th edition, we used to ignore invulnerable saves, and we used to also ignore feel no pain saves. In fact, there was literally no save, and it was minus 4 AP. So if they didn't have a 2+ armor save, they were getting no save, and even if they did have a 2+ armor save, it was a 6+ armor save by the end of it all. So it is... Yeah, it's not as good, but it is still really good. it's still really good. Now moving over to the other side of the data card with the abilities, we've got Deadly Demise D6. Now this used to be D3, but it used to be on a 4+ roll, not a 6 roll of a 6 when he's getting destroyed. So yeah, they've slightly changed that, I suppose. It's not the biggest deal. Reanimation Protocols, which is nice. Used to have Living Metal, but that's obviously a 9th edition thing. But Reanimation Protocols, you could potentially get 3 wounds back. You've got the Drain Life ability, which used to be the good ability in 9th edition. It's now something completely different. At the end of the fight phase, you roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model. On a 4+, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. That's not too bad. If you've just slightly failed to remove a unit, you've still got a chance of getting rid of that one last model potentially. Maybe a couple if they've got only 1 wound. Or even just 1 Terminator if you roll a 3 on the d3. You could do a bit more damage with that. And it's for every single model within 6 inches of this Nightbringer, not just the one. So you've got a nice little bubble there. In fact, it almost feels like a little Catan power in itself, like the Cosmic Fire used to have a 9-inch. So it feels something like that. It's pretty good, I think. And the other ability, which is for all the Catan shards, you've got the Necrodermis ability. So you're halving all damage, which is quite nice when you've got a 4+ invulnerable save as well. So you're instantly going to be negating standard damage, standard wound rolls with the invulnerable save. And then you're going to be halving the damage as well. Now, unfortunately, he is an epic hero, so we're not going to be putting the enhancement on him in the same way that we do with the Transcendent Catan, which puts that Transcendent Catan shard, in my opinion, above him purely for that resiliency alone. It's mega effective when you've got the invuln save of 4+, you're halving damage, as well as a 4+ Feel No Pain save. The Nightbringer, unfortunately, can't have that. So what is the battlefield role for the Nightbringer? So we've got a few roles here. First of all, he's a big scary melee threat. One of our best melee threats we've got. You could also talk about the Void Dragon. You could talk again about the Transcendent Catan Shard. The Deceiver, potentially. And you've got smaller ones. You've got Locust Lord, your Scorpec Lord. There's quite a few that could be considered this like beatstick character, but there's nothing more scarier than the Nightbringer. I think he's an absolute nightmare. I used to love taking him because you didn't know what to do and they used to panic. The second thing I've got here is the secondary missions. Now, you don't normally relate secondary missions to something like a Nightbringer, but there's a few cards in the deck that will relate to how he operates. So first of all, you got Bring It Down. When you're removing monsters and vehicles, that will relate to the Nightbringer because he's going to be one of those units that can do that. Assassination is another one because he is a character, so therefore you can use the Epic Challenge stratagem, and therefore you're going to be cutting open a character that's hidden within a unit, in a bodyguard or attached unit. Attempting target, you can get him onto an objective that your opponent has chosen, and you can slice and dice your way into getting hold of that objective with your Nightbringer, potentially. Overwhelming Force is very similar to Tempting Target, except you're choosing the objective this time. And Storm Hostile Objective, again, very similar. You're removing models off of an objective and trying to take hold of it. He can assist with all those kind of secondaries. Stratagem-wise, we've got the Protocol of Sunstorm, which we've not really mentioned so far for quite a few videos now, in fact, where you can add the Assault ability to the ranged weaponry. So his ranged weapon, which is the Gaze of Fire, the Gaze of Death, not Gaze of Fire, I don't know where I've got that from. The Gaze of Death, it's just got the Blast keyword, it doesn't have the Assault keyword. You can add the Assault keyword, so therefore you can advance and still fire. Now, of course, that will mean you're not going to be able to charge, but if you know you're not going to get into engagement range, or you're not going to make a charge move that turn because they're too far, you can at least get closer by using this Assault keyword to your weapon, Protocol of Sunstorm, 1 command point. We've already mentioned the Epic Challenge stratagem. When you're getting into a fight with a leader, yep, you just slice them open, job done. You can use units such as a Technomancer. Technomancer can heal any Necrons unit within 3 D3 lost wounds. So that's going to be in our movement phase. So don't forget, we've just had our command phase, which is going to bring you back D3 anyway for reanimation protocols. And then the phase just after that, the movement phase, you can get D3 more with the Technomancer. So that will effectively be like 2D3. You've got other options such as the Canoptic Reanimator with the Nanoscan Reanimation Beam. If he's within 12 inches, that's going to be another D3 for every time he reanimates. Now that's not stacking with the Technomancer's ability because that's not reanimation, that's just simply healing. So don't get the two mixed up. But yeah, let's move into the actual pros and cons for the Nightbringer. Starting with the pros. Damage from both range and melee. I think he's got a lot of damage. I mean, there was a potential of 9 damage at range. That's from one shot with the Gaze of Fire. Is it Gaze of Fire or Gaze of Death? Gaze of Death, I got it wrong again. The Gaze of Death. You've got the damage from the melee weapon, the strike, or the sweep profiles. They're doing just so much work. And then you've got the actual damage from the ability Drain Life. So damage coming from all over the place. He's actually halving incoming damage, so that makes him more resilient, more durable. along with his 4+ invulnerable save on top of that. That is really going to help him stay up. He's going to be throwing out mortal wounds, we kind of mentioned that already. Don't know why I put that twice. He doesn't need a screen like in 9th edition. I said it in the intro where in 9th edition there was the psychic phase, which was a bit of an annoyance for units such as the Catan Shard, because what was happening, if you weren't shielding them correctly, they were getting the smite attacks, so it would be like potentially 3 wounds just there, shot, then 4, all wounds are gone, 9 wounds are gone, and they're dead. This time, because there is no psychic phase, and they can be targeted at range anyway, so you don't really need to screen them off, unless you don't want them getting charged before you charge, potentially by some faster units. Maybe you got Bloodthirsters, anything that's really quick, Hive Tyrants for example, and the ones that you don't really want them fighting first, maybe those. But we are quite resilient and we do hit hard, so you know, it's sometimes it's a 50-50 really. But yeah, I don't believe you need a screen like you did in 9th edition. And he's one of our best beat stick units that we've got in the Necrons Index at present. As for the cons, you've lost your choice of Catan powers. We used to have a load of Catan powers and you selected them and then bosh, away you go. You could have customized them for your loadout, but now you can't. He doesn't ignore invulnerable saves or fear no pain saves anymore. Again, I'm relating that to 9th edition. That used to be such a cool thing, knowing that your opponent literally ain't going to get a save. That's not a thing anymore. He's going to be competing with the Transcendent Catan Shard. Now, the Transcendent Catan, I keep saying Shard, he's not a Shard, just Transcendent Catan. He's definitely an auto-include right now for any Necrons player. The abilities he's got are just mad, that advanced ability, he's going all over the place. He's so resilient. So if you're competing for that spot, now unless you're playing a multi-Catan list, he's not going to be the first choice, the Nightbringer. If you're playing 2 or 3 Catans, then yeah, definitely he'll be probably the second choice, unless you prefer the Void Dragon, which is another one that is actually competing with him. And finally, he's an epic hero, so no enhancements, which kind of relates to the previous point, in which why the Catan Shard, the Transcendent Catan, sorry, is just a better pick. So, onto my Planet 40k rating. For the Nightbringer, he's still really good. The Transcendent Catan Shard does make you think twice before selecting him. Unless you're playing multi-Catan lists, he's not going to be the first pick. If he was as good as he was in 9th edition, or if the Transcendent Catan Shard couldn't take that enhancement, then this would be right up there, 4-star, 4.5-star kind of thing. But because of the Transcendent Catan being more of a better option, I've got to put this star rating down slightly. So for me, the Planet 40k rating today for the Nightbringer is going to be a 3.5 star. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and make sure you are subscribed if you are new around here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.